Hey everyone, it's the man, the myth, the legend, Scott Sterling here with my first spin-off Squadcast series, and today I'm going to be going over everybody's favorite meme song, The Nations of the World, and I'll be pointing out all the inaccuracies within the song. So, without further ado, let's get started.
And now, The Nations of the World, brought to you by Yakko Warner.
United States, Canada, Mexico, Panama, Haiti, Jamaica, Peru, Republic Dominican.
Okay, first inaccuracy of the song. If you're going based on just the English names, Republican Dominica is actually the Dominican Republic.
Cuba, Caribbean.
Okay, so the thing is, the Caribbean is not a country, it is a region. And there is a whole bunch of countries within that region that this song just offended simultaneously. I won't get into each country that's in the Caribbean that was not mentioned, but I will mention all the countries that were missed at the end of the video. But you also have to remember this was 1993, so some of those countries would not have existed back then.
And Greenland, El Salvador too.
Okay, Greenland is not a country, but rather a territory of Denmark, but it does practice self-rule, which means it basically does everything by itself. A fun fact, former President Trump wanted to buy Greenland back in August of 2018.
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico is not a country, but a territory of the U.S. There have been movements to make Puerto Rico a state of the U.S., but not many to make Puerto Rico an independent country.
Colombia, Venezuela, Honduras, Guyana, and still Guatemala, Bolivia, then Argentina, and Ecuador, Chile, Brazil, Costa Rica, Belize, Nicaragua, Bermuda.
Okay, I find it funny that they mentioned Bermuda, but not an actual independent Caribbean island. But essentially, Bermuda is a British overseas territory and not a country.
Bahamas, Tobago, San Juan.
Okay, two things here. One small note is that Trinidad goes by its full name, Trinidad and Tobago, but Trinidad is an acceptable shortened version of the actual name and is used by people who live there. Probably not people who live on the island of Tobago. But anyway, it also said San Juan, which is the capital of Puerto Rico, and that to me does not make sense since that was not in any recent history a country.
Paraguay, Uruguay, Suriname, and French Guiana.
So French Guiana is not a country, but an overseas department of France, and is actually very against independence as it voted back in 2010 to remain part of France instead of becoming an independent nation.
Barbados and Guam.
So Guam is actually United States territory that the U.S. won back in the Spanish-American War in the early 1900s. And Guam is part of a Micronesia, which is a region in Oceania, but is not part of the actual country of Micronesia.
Norway and Sweden and Iceland and Finland and Germany now one piece.
Okay, one quick little note. When they say in Germany now one piece, they say that because after World War II, Germany split into two, West and East Germany, and at 1990, a little bit before the Soviet Union fell, they reunified to become one country.
Switzerland, Austria, Czechoslovakia.
Czechoslovakia was once part of the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, but when they split after World War I, Czechoslovakia became its own country. But then around the time that the USSR fell, around 1992, they split up into Czech Republic and Slovakia, and that's how they are to this day.
Italy, Turkey, and Greece. Poland, Romania, Scotland.
Here they say two Yemens, which I believe they're referring to the two Yemens that formed together back in 1990, which was North Yemen, which was non-communist, and South Yemen, which was communist. And today, the Yemen is threatened to divide again due to an ongoing civil war.
Albania, Ireland, Russia, Oman, Bulgaria, Saudi Arabia, Hungary, Cyprus, Iraq, and Iran. There's Syria, Lebanon, Israel, Jordan, both Yemens.
Here they are talking about two Yemens, which I believe they are referring to the North Yemen, which was non-communist, and South Yemen, which was communist, that formed to form a unified Yemen back in 1990. And currently, Yemen is again threatened to split up again due to an ongoing civil war.
Kuwait and Bahrain, the Netherlands, Luxembourg, Belgium, and Portugal, France.
Like I said earlier with Scotland, England is a part of the larger United Kingdom, though is considered the major part since that's where the capital is, London. But like I said, technically England is not a country, but a part of the United Kingdom.
Denmark and Spain. India, Pakistan, Burma.
So Burma nowadays is called Myanmar, and they made the change from Burma to Myanmar back in June in 1989. Since the song was made in 1993, they technically got the country's name wrong.
Afghanistan, Thailand, Nepal, and Bhutan, Cambodia.
So when they say Cambodia here, they are referring to Cambodia. And back in the 70s when Cambodia used to be communist, they went by Cambodia, but they changed their name before the song came out. But to their credit, Cambodia is still a highly used name in the East.
Malaysia, then Bangladesh, Asia.
This one really confused me, since Asia is a continent, not a country, so I'm honestly do not know what to say.
And China, Korea.
So when they say Korea here, they are referring to both North and South Korea, which hasn't been unified since the 1950s in the Korean War. And today, both North and South Korea claim that the other is part of their own country, but officially they're two separate countries.
Japan, Mongolia, Laos, and Tibet.
So Tibet is actually not a country, but rather a region of China, and is most likely going to stay that way due to the fact that the water found in Tibet is so valuable to China. There is a strong independent movement for Tibet, largely headed by the Dalai Lama, which is the highest spiritual leader of Tibet.
Indonesia, the Philippine Islands, Taiwan.
Right, Taiwan is a very interesting situation that Taiwan claims that it's an independent nation while China claims that it's a region and part of itself. And the United States recognized Taiwan as an independent nation, but the UN does not recognize it as a fully independent nation. And I go by the UN, so that's why I'm saying it's not a full country. And what's interesting is that back in around the 1927 to 1950, it was a Chinese Civil War, and there was the communists and the non-communists, and the communists drove the non-communists into Taiwan, and now both claim to be the real China. But for right now, Taiwan is not recognized as a fully independent nation, but that can change.
Sri Lanka, New Guinea, Sumatra.
Alright, two quick notes here is that New Guinea is actually Papua New Guinea, that's the official name, and Sumatra is the biggest island of Indonesia, but it is known as Indonesia, as Indonesia contains a whole bunch of islands besides just Sumatra.
New Zealand and Borneo.
So Borneo is not a country but an island that is divided between three countries, which are Malaysia, Brunei, and Indonesia.
And Vietnam, Tunisia, Morocco, Uganda, Angola, Zimbabwe, Djibouti, Botswana, Mozambique, Zambia, Swaziland.
So Swaziland changed their name to Eswatini back in 2018 to mark the 50th anniversary of Swazi independence.
Gambia, Guinea, Algeria, Ghana. Burundi, Lesotho, and Malawi, Togo, the Spanish Sahara is gone. Niger, Nigeria, Chad, and Liberia, Egypt, Benin, and Gabon, Tanzania, Somalia, Kenya, and Mali, Sierra Leone, and Algeria.
So Algiers is the capital of Algeria, but I think the reason why they put that there is because at the time Algeria was going through a pretty bloody civil war, and Algiers was hit pretty hard, and around that area was where a opposition group was very popular. So I'm guessing that's why they put it there, but I may be incorrect.
Dahomey.
So Dahomey was once an African kingdom until it was taken over by the French in 1904, and then it regained independence in 1960, and then changed its name in 1975 from Dahomey to Benin.
Namibia, Senegal, Libya, Cameroon, Congo, Zaire.
So it was once the country of Zaire, changed its name in 1997, so after this video was made, to the Democratic Republic of the Congo, or the DRC.
Ethiopia, Guinea-Bissau, Madagascar, Rwanda, Mayotte, and Cayman.
So Mayotte is not a country, but a French department near Madagascar in Africa. And the Cayman Islands is not a country, but a British overseas territory in the Caribbean.
Hong Kong, Abu Dhabi.
So Hong Kong is a really interesting situation, and at the time of writing of this song, Hong Kong was a British overseas territory, but essentially back in 1898, United Kingdom rented essentially Hong Kong for 99 years, and in 1997 they gave it back to China, and now it's a Chinese special administration. And basically there is a lot of resistance from Hong Kong to becoming a part of China, and there's an independence movement, and there's a whole bunch of protests and riots going on around right now. And Abu Dhabi is the capital of United Arab Emirates, and over there's kind of some city-states, and the situation is really interesting, but essentially it is United Arab Emirates.
Yugoslavia.
So Yugoslavia is essentially 6 small countries that formed one big country around at the end of World War I. And then around the time that the Soviet Union started to collapse in 1991, they slowly started to gain independence. First was Croatia in June of 1991, then quickly followed by Slovenia in the same month, same year. And then it was North Macedonia in September of 1991, then next Bosnia-Herzegovina in March 1992. And that left 2 countries, Montenegro and Serbia, and they stuck together until June 2006. That's when they went their separate ways. And then still to this day, Serbia, which was kind of the biggest country, is threatening, or I guess is possible that they're going to split again, most specifically Kosovo. And Kosovo says that they have independence. Serbia claims it's still part of them. And then the UN doesn't fully recognize Kosovo, even though some countries do. And there's a little bit more, little less known region, Vojvodina, which is also trying to vie for independence, though their movement is not as strong. So Crete is the largest island in Greece, and they were ruled by the Ottoman Empire for 253 years, till riots and conflict in 1898 caused the Ottomans to withdraw troops. And in Crete, they really wanted to join Greece, and in 1908, Greece claimed that Crete was part of their nation, but this wasn't internationally recognized until 1913. So they have not been anything close to a country for a fairly long time. Transylvania is just a region inside Romania and not its own country, though it is very famous for hosting vampires due to the book and movie Dracula.
Monaco, Liechtenstein, Malta, and Palestine, Fiji, Australia, Sudan.
So after a civil war that ended in 2011, Sudan split into 2 different countries, Sudan and South Sudan. And currently South Sudan is in the middle of its own civil war. And another note, I did not interrupt Palestine because the UN recognizes its own country, though that is very debated between many countries and is a very sensitive topic. Alright, now that we've gotten to the end of the song, I'm going to review all the countries that the song either got the name wrong or did not mention. Starting with North America, you have pretty much all Caribbean islands, so I'm just going to start listing them. You have Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, and Dominican Republic, I established that they used a more Spanish name. Grenada, which is a country the U.S. invaded. St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and I already said Trinidad and Tobago, but they only put Trinidad. The song didn't forget any countries in South America, so we're going to skip over to Europe. And since we're running low on time, I'm just going to name all of them. There's Andorra, Belarus, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Croatia, Czech Republic, Estonia, Kazakhstan, Latvia, Lithuania, Moldova, Montenegro, North Macedonia, San Marino, Serbia, Slovakia, Slovenia, Ukraine, the United Kingdom, and the Vatican City. Now going over to Asia, we have Armenia, Azerbaijan, Brunei, which they put under Borneo, Cambodia, which they put under Kampuchea, East Timor, Georgia, North and South Korea, which they put under Korea, Kyrgyzstan, Maldives, Myanmar, which they put under Burma, Singapore, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, United Arab Emirates, what they put under Abu Dhabi, and Uzbekistan. Then with Oceania, they left out Kiribati, the Marshall Islands, Micronesia, Nauru, Palau, Papua New Guinea, as they put under New Guinea, Samoa, Solomon Islands, Tonga, Tuvalu, and Vanuatu. Finally, heading over to Africa, they miss Burkina Faso, Cape Verde, the Central African Republic, Comoros, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, which they put as Zaire, Ivory Coast, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Eswatini, which they put under Swaziland, the Gambia, Mauritius, Sao Tome and Principe, Seychelles, South Africa, and South Sudan because it did not exist. Alright, that brings us to the end of the video. We see that even though The Nations of the World is the catchiest song, they still have a lot of inaccuracies or outdated information. You can't blame them for some of the out-of-date information, especially if the country didn't exist at the time, but I think we can still all agree that this is the world's best meme song. End card time. So yeah, I have absolutely no idea how to do an end card, so maybe Snickerdoodle will do it for us. So yeah, save the turtles!